Hello, and welcome to Bronze Age Monsters, the show where we wade into the weirdest and wildest waters of the comic books of the 1970s. This season on BAM, we're talking about a Bronze Age buffet of short lived books with supernatural heroes. Today, we're talking specifically about Encantu, the mighty chieftain of the forgotten Swirili tribe, the Moses of his people, leader of the revolt against Pharaoh Armset, the man damned to eternal life and imprisonment. I'm Matt Howell.
I'm Jacob Balcom.
Thank you for joining us this week, listeners. We're very happy to be doing another live episode. I'm going to start paying attention to the comments here. Jacob, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I'm having a, what are you having to drink? First of all, let's get this out of the way.
I'm having a Jazzy John Ramita.
Jazzy John. Is that a variation on a Ramita alteration?
I feel like it's when you forget to put the orange, either express or put an orange peel in it. That's a Jazzy John, even though it's less classy. So is it jazzy?
It's Jazzless John.
It's Jazzless John Ramita. Oh, that's it. Okay, there it is. That's canon.
And I am doing the dry January. So I'm having a Haler IPA dry hopped NA beer.
Nice.
Very, very exciting. So I'm stoked to be doing a live again. We love these, as we say every single time. So I'm super jacked to get started on this thing. I think we should just dive right in unless you have something exciting to share with the group.
I never have anything exciting to share. So I think we should jump right into this issue.
Okay, let me load up this episode here. Come on, this issue. Come on, you. Join the stage. There we go.
There we are.
Okay, we are talking about Supernatural Thrillers, issue number 10, featuring the Living Mummy. And this is cover dated December of 1974. Jacob, the last two issues we've talked about were October of 74. Like kind of a weird little gap.
That is a weird gap. Huh.
I don't know why they, it's like a 3-month gap there, but this cover is by Gil Kane with inks by Al Milgrom. And I think this is a great layout. I think it's absolutely exciting. I think it's really cool to have like a kind of unique position of looking at the hero from behind. And of course, it's even better when what the hero is looking at is also very exciting and interesting. So we have a desert scene, blood red skies. It says a choice of dooms, and there is a tank. And I love that the guy has a tank, but he has popped out of the hatch at the top and he's shooting a machine gun at our mummy. And the bottom little banner says, also in this incredible issue, the awesome asp. Okay, so normally, you folks know this stuff. We have a drinking game. When certain things happen, we have drinks. So normally, when someone shoots at the mummy, we have a drink. However, I'm wondering, is there some type of like positive, negative mathematics going on? Because when there's a damsel in distress, we also drink. This is the antithesis of a damsel in distress on this cover.
It really is.
A woman we find later is an Israeli soldier crouching behind the mummy, using him as a human shield while she's pulling the pin out of a hand grenade with her teeth. You know she's getting ready to skyhook that into that tank. So I feel like that cancels the drink out. Do we agree on that?
Oh, I don't agree with that at all.
Okay. Yeah, I can't say enough about this cover. I think it's super magnetic, super tight. Absolutely love it. And it's one I go back to. I think of this run, one of the few that I immediately think of when I picture Living Mummy's run.
Yeah, I'd never seen this cover before, but fuck, it's so cool. And yeah, I mean, if it's not a rule, I would think like most cover art, it's just like, no, don't just show the hero from behind. Like that's not but I think with the mummy, since he is, uniformly covered in bandages, you still kind of get that. But there's a fucking tank coming. I mean, this is why I like Atlas era war comics, because anytime a tank or a guy is shooting at you, the kid at the newsstand, that's badass.
Definitely. Yeah, Jason Feinstein says the tank turret gun would totally destroy a mummy, right? Like, yes, I believe so.
Yeah, that was probably a good choice.
I like how we were keeping it personal here,
Yeah. Interesting thing, a lot of times when we see covers, we take drinks because this thing doesn't happen. By God, every fucking thing on this happens. So
Yes.
Everything.
Yes, Letty, there is a lot going on this cover, and a lot of times that I find visually overwhelming, and I think this just everything works on it. The
It,
balance.
it's funny. The only slight qualm I had with it is I'm like, does the awesome asp deserve a mention on the cover? Does he?
Maybe he's awesome at some point.
Okay.
Like if you were, I'm trying to even think of an example. Like young George Washington. Like sure, he's just a toddler now, but he's gonna
Yeah.
be super cool later. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't have much more to say about this except I love it, I love it, I love it.
Yeah, me too. Let's jump to the next opening page. So, title of our story is A Choice of Lions. Our cast of creators are, we have Len Wein as a pinch scripter for this one. That made me think, like, that's the only kind of difference that made me think about the different wait time. So it's strange though, and it's strange because Tony Isabella and Val Mayerik, seem to have the story pretty in hand, and they were, figuring out where to go with it. So I don't know why Len was brought in. It's weird. Like it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I'm glad he's here. I'm never going to be disappointed when Len Wein shows up to the party, but I don't get this.
Yeah, I don't either. And as we get into this issue, there's things that I really like about it, and they're hinted at by the title. I was really trying to figure out, is this a Tony thing or a Lynn thing? We'll talk about it when we get there, though.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Tony Isabella gets a co-plotter credit, Val Mayerik, artist and co-plotter, Dan Adkins, inker, Glynis Wein, colorist, Artie Simek, letterer, which we haven't seen Artie in a while.
Been a long time.
We barely ever see Artie, so we're getting the greatest letterer to have ever lived on this issue. So fuck. And we have Roy Thomas, editor. So, yeah, we open on this great illustration of Encanto coming right towards us. Just like on the cover, we're getting a lot of like right towards us forward action, which is, I don't know, it's always exciting. It makes me feel like a kid when stuff like that happens.
Totally.
Yeah.
And yeah, Glade was saying this title makes no sense until you get to the end of the story. And I actually like that. I thought that was cool. I totally agree. I was like, what the fuck? Like halfway through the first read of this. And I was like, this is gibberish. And then when I got to the end, I was like,
so you
Robert read Jeremiah Johnson nod. Like,
yeah.
Well done, sir. Well done.
So you like the you like the waiting until the end to kind of just be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I like sometimes being treated like, I mean, I know that, we're saying this is written for teenage boys. I get it. But yeah, I mean, some of the stuff elevates it, right? I mean, this is stuff that a Moore or a Morrison or someone will be doing in the future, like treating this like it's literature and like it has nuance and layers and stuff like that. So yeah, I appreciate that.
No, me too. So yeah, this is a very wordy issue.
Yes.
So I was going to read this entire opening thing, but I don't know if we necessarily need to. Right now, we just know from last issue. Well, I'll skip to the second part. It says, speaking of Encanto, now he lumbers heavily across the sands, pursuing a set of machine-made tracks that point the way towards what he knows not what. Relentlessly, he shuffles onward, and the shifting sands erase his clumsy footprints almost even as they're formed. Dust returning to dust, as all things must return to dust someday. All things perhaps save he. It says, for Encanto, once proud warrior chieftain, has lived for more than 3,000 years, and if the gods are unkind, the living mummy may live forever. It's pretty cool opening narration. There's just a fuck ton of it.
It's a lot. It was great, though.
It is great. Yeah, no, Tony, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's, I almost think we're being punished for like constantly shitting on Tony Isabella and constantly shitting on Dan Adkins. And this is just like a double middle finger in our face every time they do something like this. Because you know what? The inks on the mummy look great too.
They look amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I feel like this is my comeuppance.
It is, right?
Crow feathers coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, so Jason Feinstein says desert colors are typically pretty boring. Glynis wasn't having any of that, and you're right. Yep. We have purples and reds and different shades and yellows, and yeah, you're right. This could have been a pretty drab color scheme had you have gone, photorealistic. But no, this is beautiful.
Yeah, I love that kind of almost like impressionistic or something, like a way of treating those dunes in the background with the purples and the pinks, the shading. That's cool.
It's really cool.
Right on. Ready to march on?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I'm stuck with my typical flashback page here. And I have to say, I said this on the last Mummy issue, but I didn't think we needed to see the elementals. They played no part in that story. I don't think we needed that flashback. I
We
still think that would have
don't.
been a stronger arc if that had just been a mysterious scarab and they were alluded to and some narration and then we moved on. But and got this recap here. I think it's stronger.
I agree.
Um, there's some nice art here, though. So I love this first portrait of him as he's walking and walking. And he's thinking because he has nothing else to do. And I was just thinking to myself, like, oh my God, this poor fucker has been stuck with his thoughts for 3,000 years.
Yeah.
The last thing he needs, like somebody give him a Walkman. Like the poor
No.
bastard's just trudging
No.
along like, well, let's see. Let's think of things that begin with A. Apple, asparagus.
Yeah, no, his internal
Anteater.
monologue has been going for millennia. And so yeah, I don't know, maybe he can't live without it now. Maybe he's just really kind of talking himself up or at least being sad mummy like in the issues that we like him. I mean, we know he's just thinking about dark shit the whole time, so I live for that.
Me too. So yeah, the rest of this row here, we see the elementals again, and that they promised him his humanity if he got the scarab. We see him dispatching with the living pharaoh's henchmen, battling the living pharaoh himself. Someone stole the scarab. I love this bottom row here, actually. I like that they went back and hit that note again of like the pharaoh is just without having the scarab giving him his full mutant powers back. He's just pathetic. And I remember that last issue still sticking with me. Like, that's right. Like the mummy's looking at him thinking like, God, all you want us to be more than human. And all I would fucking kill for is just to be human again.
Yeah.
Like that cool tension between those two people and how pathetic he is. And I love this last panel, this angle here as the mummy's lurching out, looking for the thief of the scarab. Because with that goes his chance of being human again. Decent page.
Yeah, for a flashback.
Art-wise.
Yeah, art-wise it is. Especially that first panel's great, and the inks are great. Again, fuck you and I, Matt.
Yeah.
We deserve it.
That last panel.
Oh, that last panel too is fuck. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But Mark Niven says, I've said it before, but Glynis deserves a lot of credit for her Bronze Age work, but you rarely read about her. Mark, you're absolutely right. And I was thinking, like, as far as like the Bronze Age monster stuff, women color 75% of it. Honestly, I don't think that's an exaggeration.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Matt, I'm going to pose this to you. I think that one of our long-term projects for this podcast is to make a short documentary on the female colorists of Bronze Age monsters. So we'll talk about Linda Lessman, we'll talk about Petra, of course, and we'll talk about Glynis Wein. Do little bios, maybe try and interview them if they are still around and willing to talk to us. So yeah, I think we need to do that. I think that's necessary.
Gauntlet thrown.
Damn right. I'm really good at throwing gauntlets and kind of passing the work to you.
Well, yeah, this would be a collaborative thing. This would not be a Matt, shouldn't we? This would be a Matt, we are going to.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty good at those. Whenever I actually say we are going to, I do the work.
You do follow through.
Yeah.
No,
I do.
I'm 100% with you there. I did my last note on this page before we jump on is that I love that he's lurching along, rethinking through all this stuff, right? He says, and with the scarab goes my sole chance of again becoming human. And like in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, maybe it's because my daughter's getting into theater and she's like starting to do musicals. So I was like, this is where the wishing song comes, right? Like the I just want to be human or something, you know?
Yeah, totally. I'd watch that musical. Shit, yeah.
Better than The Masked Singer.
Yeah. So, okay. So, yeah, let's go to the next page. So this first row is interesting. Like all of the illustrations, every one of these 6 panels is great. But it's so cool, and it's switching back and forth between the mummy and his past human self. And it goes kind of back and forth as the camera is going and zooming in on each figure. It's really well done. Like, it's very cool. And I mean, that has Val Mayerik all over it. But, you know, Dan Adkins not only doesn't ruin it, he makes it pretty good for the most part. The narration across those 6 top panels says, a human, the word stirs pleasant memories. And then suddenly we are back into the past. Narration says it has been 21 summers since Nkantu, son of Tochombi, chief of the Swahili, first sang the Song of Life. It will be 5 summers more before the legion of Pharaoh Aram Set enslaved the Swahili people. This day the air is heavy with the aroma of ripe plains grasses and the anxious odors of anticipation. This day is Nkantu's day of testing. Today he must prove he's a man. So, okay, so we get that he's 21 here and that he is 26 when Aram Set throws him into the state of suspended animation.
I love this page.
Oh, this page is so awesome. So the top is great, but then the bottom panel, fuck, it's 2/3 of the page, and it's so badass. And we're kind of, I don't know, I would call this almost a worm's eye view or an ant's eye view, because you're on the bottom, you're just looking up, and we see his father Tochombi, from behind, sitting on this badass fucking throne that looks like it's elephant tusks, and the wheels are like kind of like cool fetish mask kind of stuff, and God, it's fucking rad. And then, since we're the ant looking up, my God, we see Nkantu, and has he ever looked at this badass before?
No. One thing I love about this page is the stark contrast that the artists have thrown in with the Egypt that we've seen and the rest, like wherever this southern part of Africa is, right? Like everything is arid, and all the stuff that's associated with the pharaoh and the fate of Nkantu is this arid, just dead whatever. And he came from this rich, lush, verdant world. Like, I just love that contrast.
Yeah, you're right. It's so cool. It's really well said. And that feeling kind of really emanates from a lot of these flashback panels. I almost think, we've had amazing flashback panels for Nkantu and Origins, but I like the world that this flashback is in. It feels very real to me. And I feel like what you're saying is absolutely true. Further emphasizing the color and what Glynis has done through this entire issue. Like the present colors and the past colors are just a different palette altogether.
Yeah.
Like it's really well thought out and it's really well executed.
Yeah. Good call. Mark said, don't forget Mary Screens. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I think we had her on one of the giant size, if I'm correct. We've had her maybe once or twice, but not as many as the other 3. But yeah, I'd be happy to talk about her.
I would too, apparently, because I need to do some learning. All right, so we ready to go?
Yep.
Oh, one thing before we move on, though, I did want to say just this whole page in general. This page is the example of like what the master stroke is with this character that the writers that have done with him did. Like, humanizing this monster was the smartest thing they did. Like, his first appearance of him just being an animated, even making him human in the past was cool, but like this whole keep returning and having memory be a thing that plays up over and over again. His humanity is his main feature, and he's completely inhuman in every other respect in his physicality. It's genius.
It is genius. I was thinking that too in this issue. Also, the Roku Universal Monsters channel has been playing a lot of the Mummy movies, and I'll see them, and there's a bunch in that Universal Mummy cycle, and and they're great. I'm not wild about every story, almost any of the stories actually. For the Mummy movies, the Universal Mummy movies, but I was thinking the exact same fucking thing. I was just like, you know what? As far as any Mummy story that I have ever run across, this is the greatest origin, and this is the greatest way to balance the humanity, pathos, monster whole equation. And this is the right way to do it. And it's, I don't know. I can't say enough things about, because you're right. I had that weird light bulb go on. I'm just like, this is my favorite Mummy story of all time.
I think it is. I mean, definitely the most human. Because I mean, typically they're animated and they're just, going for their queen or whatever. It's usually kind of simplistic, but
it's very simplistic. No, this is so nuanced and cool. And this is the best. I mean, this is the most we're going to get. I mean, so far of his actual like origin before and how he became to be the leader of the Swahilis. Like, we've just gotten, the only backstory we've gotten has been the, oh shit, Aram Set enslaved us and then he entombed me. And so, yeah, this is rich.
Yeah. And just the fact that his motivation is to be human again. I mean, I've never even heard of a mummy like trying that impossibility. So it's tragic at the same time as being, really endearing and touching in a weird way. Okay, moving on. So we get to see this rite of passage here play out. His father says, "Go in Kantu with only knife in hand and prove your right to be called my son. For only he who slays the lion may ever hope to be chief of the Swarili." And he assures his father he will not shame him, and he will return with the head of a lion, or he will not return at all. I mean, the art's just solid throughout this whole sequence here, but I particularly love that last one. It kind of takes on a European kind of quality to me. Some of this flashback stuff, like just European aesthetic to some of these things, which I guess isn't that wild. But so again, we're getting that contrast of the desert, right? While Nkantu in present day, 1974, is trudging, shuffling through the sand in bandaged feet, the veldt grass is soft beneath Nkantu's calloused feet as he lopes uneasily through the underbrush. So again, it's just all contrast with the present versus his previous life. And the way he is rendered by the art team, he is fucking gorgeous physical specimen of humanity. Just wiry and ropey and strong and sinewy and tall. I mean, he just looks so awesome. He can hear the lion roaring before he even gets through there. And so, he just keeps thinking he will not fail Tachambi's trust. He cannot. His father's old. He's going to die soon. So he has to do this rite of passage so he can be in line to take the throne after his father goes. He wants to be the hope for his people. And I love that there's this weird, like, prescience or whatever, like this Dune kind of like level of like, or Dr. Manhattan, right? Where it's like, I'm Armset's slave right now. I'm also just about to prove to my father that I'm good enough to be chief. I'm also walking in the desert. Like that kind of weird, like parallel storytelling that runs through this thing is so cool. I love this panel here on the end of this row where he's looking over this valley and you see a male lion and a female and its child. And this last panel here is freaking gorgeous. The animal work throughout here from the art team. All of these big cats are stunning. It says the great cats hesitate in their track, catching the bold young warrior scent even before he voices the ritual challenge. I love that there's that image of him. Like he's, they've already, like they said, like they caught a whiff of him on the wind before he even yells out. But up there, he's yelling like whatever verbal, nonverbal, just, thing, just announcing his presence. And that this is some ancient thing that's happened generation upon generation. It's almost like the lion knows exactly what's going to happen too. Like, it's just like this, it's so old and storied.
It is. It seems like with the lions and with Nkantu and his people that, this ritual is in their DNA. It has always happened and always will happen kind of thing. Yeah. It's weird that that's conveyed so well.
So simply, right?
Like, it's so good. Like, again, reading this issue, I was just like, aside from being like, fuck, this is my favorite mummy story ever. And then I was just like, oh, Jesus Christ. Michael Giacchino needs to make this into his next special for Marvel Spotlight, because they did that new Marvel Spotlight thing, which I loved. Like, that's what Echo is, I guess, is the first Marvel Spotlight. I read Michael did some new music for that, too.
I haven't seen Echo yet.
So, yeah, I'm going to have to watch Echo. I mean, I want to watch Echo anyways, but especially for that. But yeah, Michael, if you're listening, you need to, that's your next special. You thought it was going to be Man Thing and Werewolf by Night again, but nope. Living Mummy all the way. All right, so let's go to the next page. The beast, it says the Beast King pads forward and snarls. I love that it says, Tony's saying when it snarls, it says, "Go away, young fool." The low, throaty growl seems to say, "Why come so far only to die?" And I love that panel of the lion because he's like terrifying looking. Like, it's not majestic and like, regal like lions are. This is like some kind of demon face.
Like Grendel or something.
It is like Grendel. It's almost like, there's this ancient spirit that inhabits this lion that has always been and has always been a part of this ritual. And that, and that's what Encantu is fighting. I don't know, maybe I was super high when I was coming up with a lot of these notes, but I'm still liking my insights. I'm like, way to go, hi Jacob. That's still pretty good.
I like it too.
Yeah. So, oh yeah. So the fight starts, and Encantu says, "Come, Black Mane, let us see who is to die." And it says, with that, the shaggy jungle cat hurls itself angrily at this presumptuous intruder, and Encantu meets the attack gladly. Laughter bubbling up from somewhere deep within him. So he's just like maniacally laughing as he's fucking wrestling this lion. Oh, man. Like, this is just, I mean, this whole sequence, you could just film exactly this, and it would be like one of the greatest sequences ever. So cool. And so, but the narration is nice. It says, "But would the young warrior laugh so easily if he knew what was soon to come?" It says, "If he knew that his people will one day die in bondage, building monuments that they will survive long after the once proud Swahili are forgotten, if he knew that he himself will soon be bound to a deathless curse visited upon him by Aramset's head priest Nephris." And I loved that. I really liked the whole, and you're right, the juxtaposition between what's happening in 1974 and what's happening here is so goddamn cool. Like, it's just done masterfully. So I don't know, maybe we're answering our own question as to why Len is here.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't contribute to the dialogue, I feel like he just injected that thing that he did in the early 70s. Like, my God, was there a better monster book writer than Len Wein? I don't think so. I mean, fuck, he's doing Swamp Thing at DC. Like, this is fucking crazy. Like, I think he is, if not one of the architects, then the greatest writer of Bronze Age monster comics, especially the one that we're going through, because fuck, he writes a lot of them. A large percentage of the ones we've gone through, he's written.
Yeah. I think we mentioned it. I was trying to parse out what was Len and what was Tony. And I feel like some of these things that we're really tickled and enchanted by are Len. That's only based on Tony's batting average on what we've read together. I'm just saying, I don't think he's incapable of it. We've seen him do great stuff, but that nuance and that some of the stuff like this, like you were saying, like him laughing as he's weeping, risking his life. Like, there's just this kind of paradox in there that just seems like it's more of a Len thing to me. Like this, like he's loving his life even at the risk of losing it in a matter of moments. He wants to be the chief, and that's on the precipice. It's there. He can almost feel it, and he's just embracing everything. I mean, it's just all setting up how awful, again, that contrast of what happens to him. It's all like this, just like, it's like the same cliche with like the Vietnam vet, like, I'm going home to Judy in 7 days. I just got to make it without getting a bullet on the, you know?
Oh yeah. But no, you're right. I mean, Len seems to have put his stamp on so much of all of this that, and it's funny, you read about Len Wein and people talk about, I mean, of course they talk about Swamp Thing, but like you and I, why we are doing this is that a lot of the lesser monster books that he had a hand in over at Marvel haven't really gotten a reappraisal really at all. And I'm so glad we're going through them, because insights like this come up to where we're just like, of course, Len Wein is a fucking genius and a giant of comic writing, but goddamn, we're mining this weird little section of the Marvel universe that he did. And it's so cool.
Totally agree. Yeah. And I think that this writing, my first read through of this, I didn't know what I wanted this issue to be. I feel like I brought something to it that wasn't fair, like some expectation. And so first reading through this, like, yeah, some flashback stuff. And then the second time through, I completely settled into it. I was like, oh, this is the story. This is the issue. Like, this is the reason this issue is happening. And it's awesome.
Well, there's more action happens in the past than in the future, at least like length of time and majesty and scope. Like what happens in 1974 is fucking awesome. But
yeah,
you're right. This is the story.
Yeah. Mark says this reminds him of Buscema's Tarzan. I
Yeah,
haven't read that.
definitely. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely, Mark.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so we ready to move on?
Yeah, you bet.
Cool. So on the next page, we have a gorgeous 6-panel, seemingly very simple layout. I love this first panel. The way the art, like, just immediately, like, viscerally shows us the impact of this. Like, the angle's tilted like 45 degrees. There's a blood red background. Um, the line's almost entirely in silhouette, so everything has been shifted in like extreme relief from what it was just literally moments ago, right? It's like, would he still laugh if he knew? So it's talking about his fate that's approaching him. Like, right now, the future seems as nebulous as the clouds beyond the veldt, and the present belongs to Encantu. So he bests the lion, and the ritual is over. Thankfully, we don't get to see him saw off the lion's head. King of the jungle is slain, and then we get this beautiful panel here in the middle row. On this day, Encantu, son of Chichombi, can at last call himself a man, and you get this beautiful portrait of him. Then it's talking about his what's going to happen to him in the future, and then we cut back to the present, and there's an awesome graphic match between these two panels. The eye is the thing that connects the two of them. So we see him back 3,000 years ago, flash forward now, and somehow the hope, the promise, everything that's in that eye of young Encantu is just commented on by his eye now, where it's just, I mean, I don't know how you, with the fucking pencils and a little bit of ink, you got a wistful, heartbreaking, kind of tragic look in the eye, but they did it. Like, that completely translates to me as it's dissolving and fading back to the present, and he's just lost in memory, and just, he looks like it. Like, that is a masterful piece of art right there.
I know, how the fuck do you do that? Like, that is just that rarely happens so well. And for these, what Marvel, or at least like Marvel, historians think as disposable books, just not any, and they're the gems of art that are in these forgotten disposable books. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I really stayed on those two panels, and at first, I thought how beautiful they were, and then I was just like, oh, but would it have been better if, like, they were more, more similar, almost like, exactly the same face, and then just the saddened face. But I actually like the angle. I can even imagine, Val maybe for 2 seconds thinking that, and then be like, nope, different angles is going to be good. You just tie it together with the eye. And that's what a great artist does.
Yeah. The highlighting on the mummy's wrappings here, the gold and the black with the black contrast is gorgeous. And that wry hint of a smile where he's, I mean, if he tears, if he could spare the moisture, as Lucille Bluth would say,
yeah.
He would cry.
There'd
be one tear coming down, but he's desiccated. But he's smiling, and he's looking back on it, was like appreciating what it was, but can't dwell too much on the difference, or he'd break down and collapse on the floor.
Yeah.
And then now we're back fully to the present moment. This past, he has to keep trudging along, following the tracks. He may well lose his chance to ever again become a man unless he finds the ruby scarab, and quickly. And then cut to a castle standing alone upon a world beyond all worlds, and the 4 bizarre beings who dwell within. I really liked that Len, or Tony, I'm pretty sure it was Len, called the elementals bizarre, because to date they've just been like extra dimensional beings of great power, just normal stuff. But someone's saying, no, they're fucking weird. Like, okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
They are really fucking weird.
Yeah, we were just justified. We were just like, fuck, finally. And yeah, Jason, every single time. I mean, it's just Castle Grayskull. It just is.
I know. My note just said Elementals playset from Kidder.
Yeah. See, that's the other playset. You'd think it's Castle Grayskull, but then you'd go in and be like, Zephyr, what? Hydron, come on.
Made my sandwich wet.
Yeah. So, yeah, I totally thought the same thing. So, yeah, and speaking of the elementals, we get them all in a row. So, back to the elementals. Hellfire is back on his old shit, which is basically just blaming Zephyr for everything. I feel like they've just had the same conversation the last couple issues, the last 2 issues at least, because something goes wrong and then Hellfire blames Zephyr for it. Like, this has just been a continuing theme in the Elementals dynamic.
Yeah, I wondered at this point. I had the same thing. I was like, okay, so that's just a one note dynamic. And is someone trying to telegraph, like, is she a betrayer? Is she actually good? And she's trying to fuck this up to somehow end their reign of weird bizarreness or something? Like, I don't think so. I think it's just some wonky writing that had to be followed through on. But yeah, I just focused on the underboob and just got through the panel.
Well, that's what you got to do. You got to survive, and you have to rely on survival tactics. So in the middle row, Hellfire is just like, oh, you call losing control of our sole hope to regain the Ruby Scarab only a petty annoyance? And so, yeah, it's just this whole thing again. And then even over at the end, I think it's Hydron who's just like, what cause have you given us to believe your claims, wench? If you know something that we do not, then I demand you prove it. I love the real yelling speech that is done in this. And this is Artie Simek. And it's so funny. I was like, oh yeah, Artie Simek, that's awesome. And then as I was reading that, I was just like, no, the lettering is fucking awesome. And there's a reason for that. It was like, oh yeah, it's the god of lettering.
Yeah, he is totally. And Hydron's got a mullet. I mean, fuck this guy, man.
fuck all these guys.
Leave Zephyr alone.
Yeah, don't ever question Zephyr. Even though, yeah, they're all questioning her. And then in that final panel, she's like, what can I say, my disbelieving friends? If you doubt my sincerity, I must remove that doubt by traveling to Earth for the first time in untold millennia and regaining control of the mummy. And yeah, that final panel of just her and her wrath and just being like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm going to go get this done. All you're doing is just standing here and yelling at me and doing nothing. So I'm going to go and do my shit. And yeah, I love that last panel, just depicting it.
Women's lib. I like to think that that's a forward-thinking writing from somebody there. Like, these 3 chodes are just standing around pointing fingers and whining about how the thing got away. And she's like, fuck it. I'll just go to Earth and get it, assholes.
But you know what? I mean, even in this time period, it's rarer than you would think. I mean, I know you had the female-led books, and then, but we would also read Tony Isabella, writing about Tigra and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's all over the map always. But I do love Zephyr's character so far, which is just weary and just be like, do I really have to fucking do this? Like, do I have to sit here and let these chodes yell at me? So yeah. I don't know. And her whole personality has really just been reacting to these assholes, but it instantly makes me connect with her.
Yeah, totally. And I love this last panel, like, looking over their shoulders like this, and them in the foreground, and she almost looks like a golden idol or something like that, like something that would be worshipped. Maybe I just love her. I don't know.
You do.
Yeah, I do a little bit. Okay, so hey, would you like to own your own handsome Bronze Age Monsters water bottle? There's a way to win one from us. This is super easy. Just go into the comments, not the chat here, the comments of this YouTube video, and this counts outside of the live. Tell us which character of season 5 you like so far the most, and let us know just why, briefly. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about it. Leave that post down there. The next live we do, I will go back in here and randomly select one of these to be the winner of one of these delicious water bottles. They're solidly made, they're metal, and they keep if you put ice in them, they're cold for like 6 hours. They're amazing. They'll remind you of your grandpa's thermos that he had at Coleman. It's like a Coleman thermos. But
damn
small.
Right.
So
they look so cool. It's really cool you're giving some of these away.
Yeah. We gotta spread the wealth there. Made myself thirsty just talking about it.
Yeah,
so,
had to take a swig.
Yeah, and that is domestic shipping. But if someone internationally was willing to pony up their half of it, I would help them out. So again, you have until the next live to leave that comment. So if you're watching this in the future after this aired, you still have time unless there was another live episode. All right. So this next page I was quite a fan of. because of this first panel. You know what I thought of myself? I said, "Oh my god, I miss Zeredna so much."
Right.
But
Oh,
this almost makes up for it.
you're right. They've been our two favorite ladies of Bronze Age monsters so far. We've loved both of them so much.
Remember when Damon's and Zeredna's heads were just flying through the cosmos, detached from their bodies? That was like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
I can't tell you. I do think about that issue. Like it does just pop into my brain. I was just like, wasn't that fucking crazy that there was like a hangman at the nexus of the universe? Like that was crazy, right? Did that happen?
It was only more crazy that he was Adam. And he suffered for every sin that humanity committed.
Oh, Gerber, goddamn! This is why people worship you.
Okay, so I like some of this copy here. So she said, "Fuck it," and she's going down to Earth to take care of this herself. She says, "Then, like a deathless breath of breeze, the mistress of the winds is gone from the castle out of time, borne upon the gale that fills the void, back to Earth, back to that once lush, whirling globe of green called Earth." And to the events which, sadly, we have no time to recount now. So yeah, we'll find out in the future how this goes. But Zephyr, I hate to see you go. I love to watch you leave. You know what I'm saying? So back onto Earth and the desert. Across the arid waste, and Kantu walks briefly. He pauses by a small oasis. I love this. But it says a mummy has little need for water, and so he moves on. And I was like, wait a minute. So he has lungs that need oxygen. He almost drowned last issue, but he doesn't need water. I mean, I know he survived 3,000 years without water, but
he did.
I don't know. That just seems like a weird pick and choose your organs kind of thing. But
well,
that's cool.
You know, take it up with Nephris.
I will. Yeah. It said his inbox is full. Just bounce back. So we see this dude here with the scarab saying, "For a minute there, I thought he'd spotted me, but I should have known better." So he's hiding behind a rock as the mummy walks by. And we get this guy. I don't know. Oh, we need to cast this guy pretty soon because it looks like Val has a very specific person in mind that he's like drawing a photo reference of. I couldn't figure out who it was. In my mind, it's like David Soul, the stunt casting role of a lifetime. Nothing could possibly go wrong for me now. Not a guy as lucky as the Asp. Refer to yourself in the third person. Give yourself a nickname like the Jackal. Yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's holding the scarab. Cool close-up of this dude. And then from the bushes, "Hey, is it safe to..." Huh? This guy almost gets shot. He's like, "Cripes, old Dan. Sneaking up on me like that is one great way to get yourself dead." I was like, "Old Dan?"
Old Dan.
You sound like a crusty prospector.
Oh,
cinnamon and gravy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, I don't know. This was just a weird turn, and I liked it. I just like old Dan, who is probably 30.
I know he does look 30. Yeah, the intro to the Asp that we get in these 3 panels is hilarious. Yeah, you're right. There has to be a very specific photo reference for the Asp. And yeah, old Dan, so goddamn funny. And I imagine it's just like they're like Magnum and Higgins is the instant like shortcut I had to these characters. I'm just like, yep, that makes sense to me.
Oh, yep. Man, I bet they have some funny conversations around the fire at night.
They do. Oh, man. So, next page on this first panel, it's old Dan. What's the matter, Asp? Nervous? I thought you had this caper planned down to the last detail. And, then, I don't know. Oh yeah, the Asp is like, "But I do, old Dan. I promise you, before we're done, this overgrown ruby will net us an overgrown fortune." He says, "I'll believe that when it happens, friend." And then he goes on and releases an exposition grenade about their plan in great detail. And I love this, his head, and behind his head is like, it's the images of his plan, which he's like, "We know that the archaeologist Dr. Scarab and his assistants are flying to Cairo at this very moment, and they'll be able to pay a bundle to gain possession of this gem. Then once they've paid us, we'll steal the ruby back from them and sell it to as many other suckers as we can drum up. The deal's simple and lucrative. So what's the problem?" I was just like, well, there's a few problems actually with that. Like, what kind of heist is this? Is this like some kind of... Is it a weird meta heist that just it's a heist that heists itself?
It's not the Spanish Prisoner. Like there's no art to it at all. It's like Indiana Jones meets the Porch Pirates.
It is. It's just
What
like,
the fuck?
no, we'll sell it to him. And then they're like, oh, great, we'll make that money. He's like, nope, not done. We're going to steal it from them and then sell it to some other guys. And yeah, obviously old Dan was like, you know what? You're a genius.
Yeah.
And then they
And everyone will be
set
so
off.
embarrassed they won't report it. And we'll just keep doing it over and over again.
Oh man. Yeah. The introduction of the asp actually made me laugh a lot.
Oh, me too. But I'm really bothered because this portrait of him is gorgeous. But I was like, all right, who is it, Val? Who is this?
I mean, David
Steven
Soule is,
Stills? Is it John Denver? It's somebody, motherfucker. Who is it?
I don't know. I think your first call is pretty close. I'm not going to
Is
lie.
he Starsky or is he Hutch? I'm not
Yeah.
sure which one's which.
I can't remember which one's which either. Yeah, and then the in the bottom panel, it's old Dan, who looks 30, in his 30s. He's like, I wish I knew, Asp. It's just this feeling I have. And the Asp says, I think you're letting that character in the mummy outfit spook you, pal. Oh, someone thinks the mummy's in an outfit. It's costume.
Oh,
Drink for
shit.
that.
Mark said he thinks it's Gary Collins. That's actually a really good call.
Ooh, that is really good, Mark. That's probably right on. I wouldn't even
the
thought of
closest-
that.
That's the only one that feels right so far.
Well,
to
Mark,
me.
I think you win. There's no way we can cast him as anybody else after you said that. So, yeah, the Asp, as played by Gary Collins.
Finally.
Yep, there we go. You feel better?
I feel better. Yeah, it was actually bugging me.
It was.
'Cause
I was a
did
weight
read
off.
this
So,
3 times. So,
Mark Nivens, thank you.
but now he's played by Peter Tork in this panel. So
Yeah.
who knows what the hell is going on? So that was just a fun page in general, man. I love meeting those guys. Old Dan and the Asp. Are you kidding me? That's a fucking spinoff,
Fuck.
right?
Oh, man. Fucking rad.
Don Knotts needs to be in
Yeah.
there somewhere. And so this first panel, this page felt really weird to me. The line work is super fine. Almost like a wood block or something like that. It's crazy. Somebody just fell in love with old Dan for a minute.
It made him look like Clark Gable. Like suddenly he's a 30s matinee idol.
He's
like
Douglas Fairbanks or Clark Gable. Totally.
He's much more Douglas Fairbanks. That's a great call. Yeah, I know. It was weird. It was a weird panel, but
Or
great.
Errol Flynn. He looks like Errol Flynn too.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, he's just sitting there like all wistful, like maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's bothering me, you got closer look at that guy than I did, but are you sure he was wearing a costume? So they're still blah blah, and Asp is getting sassy. No, it was Boris Karloff wrapped in the world's longest ace bandage. I'm telling you, old Dan, keep this up and you're going to get on my nerves. So they're already like an old couple bickering at each other, it's completely loveless, like the Ropers, just like
Oh, man.
So they're driving off again. He's saying, I just got a premonition. Something's going to happen and we're not going to like it. So that's old Dan's role. He just is the guy that says that. He's the old man at the gas station that tells the teens, you don't want to go up there in them woods.
Yeah.
Then the bottom of the page, we cut back to Encanto, this great vertical panel of him just trudging along, keeping on. And it says he's lost the tracks that he was following. So now with that goes his hope of regaining his humanity because he can't find where the scarab was. And then he hears some heavy artillery going off. He says that sound, it's like the thunder of the strange spears that throw the stinging metal pellets, only louder. I like that. Kind of Tonto speak there or whatever.
He's never called guns that before. It's just totally.
And so he wonders, am I being attacked again? And then someone comes running over the crest of the dunes and he sees the target of the fusillade, running towards him, scrambling madly. It's a soldier of some sort.
Yeah, I know. This is, it's funny. There's not much that really happens on this page. A Jeep, tears off of dune and then a mummy's just walking. But it's awesome. And I do love, so that great long panel. But then we see once the tank shell like blows up a dune, I love that. I love the contrast between the first panel and the second panel, where his head it moves just slightly more towards us. And it's so cool the way that they do the mummy's movements. And we've said this every goddamn issue, but they're just great. It's exactly how you want a mummy to move in a movie.
Yeah.
but no actor can
No
quite
motion.
get it as good as this. And so
Mhm.
this is why comics are such a cool medium, because you can do shit that film and TV can't. And that's why we love it as a medium.
Definitely.
All right. So yeah, we get to kind of meet who was running across those dunes. I love this narration. It says, "But a soldier such as Encantu had never dreamed he would ever see a woman, and behind her a great metallic chariot that spits death from a gleaming muzzle. The sand erupts in holocaust as the fleeing woman's heels, hurling her headlong into the dirt."
This felt
And
like Isabella to me, by the way.
yeah, you think so?
All this copy, yes, all this
Yeah.
language felt very Isabella.
Yeah. At the bottom, yeah. Next, and so yeah, so we see this woman kind of running away from the tank. The middle panel is the it says yeah, it talks about the harsh laughter of the uniformed charioteer, which I did like that. It says the laughter cuts through Encantu's soul like the jeers of Aramset's taskmasters. I love that the things that he experiences in 1974, like because he doesn't have any other memories. So when things happen in 1974, he draws direct parallels to his life and what happened, and especially the tragedy of his death and entombment. And it's
He
just
has
fuck.
very little frame of reference, right?
He doesn't. Like, he was 26. Like, imagine you're just in fucking suspended animation at 26. And then, yeah, you wake up in a future world. You'd just be like, I have nothing to compare this to. I'm 26. I have a finite number of memories. So,
and he lived
yeah,
in a village of like probably 65 people.
I know, right? You were a king, though. You were a chieftain. So at the bottom it says, "And the living mummy lumbers forward, gnarled hands outstretched to help the young woman to her feet." And I love that he thinks this. He's like, "This is a warrior of my strange new world? Then I weep. She is so young, so lovely, with so much to live for." But then I love how she answers this just with a look, because she looks up and she's scared, but she's also like, "Fuck you." And she says, yeah, it says, "Then the girl looks up, sees the misshapen bandage wrapped hands reaching towards her, dripping the dirt and decay of more than 3,000 years. And were Racha Meyer not a soldier in her country's proud army, she would scream. But she doesn't, because she's a fucking badass, as we're going to see."
I looked up this name, and in Hebrew it means soft or tender. I don't know how you say it. I couldn't find a pronunciation key. I would assume it was like racha, like challah bread or
I would
something.
think it's like that. Every pronunciation that I found was Racha, but I think you're right. I think it would be Racha.
Yeah. I mean, again, I have
No,
no
I think
idea.
I think you're absolutely right. And yeah, but wow, what a cool fucking character. Great intro.
Yeah. And I like that last panel too,
I know.
where he's just kind of trying to convey I mean, harm slash what the hell is going on here? A woman warrior slash like mad respect.
He does have one of those, like, he's like a really cool 65-year-old guy who's just like, "Yeah, you know what? Good on you. Like, this shocked me, but good for you, lady."
He looks like yeah, he looks like Hank Hill, like when someone asks him a question about like some knowledgeable question about propane. Like, oh,
Oh, you're right.
okay. You're all right. Okay, shall we move on?
Yes.
All right, so this little encounter continues. She pulls her gun on him, weapon at the ready. She warns the living mummy to depart, an action wasted on him because he doesn't understand the Hebrew language. Then, meanwhile, he does hear some Arabic, which it says he kind of pieces a little bit together enough to understand, which is interesting. And so the two guys in the tank are arguing, what are you doing, Ahmed? Shoot him quickly. And he's like, "But Hassan, we fired our last cannon shell. What good are small arms against a creature such as that?" Finally, somebody with a little modicum of intelligence here. Yes, what good are small arms against a mummy that's 7 feet? Good question.
Yeah. Good question, right?
So the guy says, "Fuck it, by Allah. If that thing is truly one of the timeless dead, which I doubt, a 50 caliber machine gun will return it to the ground as well as anything else." Butta, 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 butta.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit of NA beer left. I'm going to finish that for the butta,
Damn
butta.
right.
The narration reminds us not necessarily so, Hassam, for though the bullets cause excruciating pain. And I like that they're like doing the ricochet thing. Like his skin's hard enough where it's like,
Yeah. Yep.
And this bottom row, this is my favorite part, at least action wise, maybe not art wise, but I like the art as well too. But the action here, so they just keep shooting at his chest, and he's just kind of Supermaning, just having it bounce off, even though it hurts him, raising new welts on already ravaged skin. They cannot penetrate a body hardened almost into rock by the irrevocable passage of time. Got to get that in every issue. Got it.
Yes, you do.
And it says it's the fact that Racha or whatever Meyer cannot help but notice, and then so she uses it to her advantage, right? Again, she's not going, "Oh my," whatever.
No.
She's like, "Oh, a shield, cool." She runs behind him, and he's like, "She wants to use my hideous new body as a shield," and he's just like shocked. He's like, "Then so be it. I have little enough else to offer." Love that little turn there. She's scrappy, she's practical, pragmatic, and she's a warrior. This is the antithesis of almost every other female we've met that's human in this entire run of the show.
Absolutely, really. Like, I love that you're right, she's not using him as a shield and just be like, save me. She's just like, oh, cool, a rock wall that I can, do some kind of badass jump towards, to where I'm getting ready to throw a fucking grenade. And yeah, you're right. She's so cool.
It's cover. It's cover me.
Yeah. She's just like, oh, perfect cover. Okay, I can totally fuck this tank up now. And yeah, so cool. So yeah, the next page, that top row says, then as if answering the silent challenge, the war machine rolls forth, gears grinding, machine gun fire stitching the air. It says, go away, young fool, the chattering tumult seems to say. Why come so far only to die? So again, we're starting. We're like, oh, okay, something's happening here. There's a parallel being drawn. And then the final panel in the top row says, regrettably, the significant is not lost upon Nkantu, once proud African chieftain. Middle says, jaw set against the almost blinding pain, the living mummy shambles ahead, his misshapen body taking the punishment intended for the girl who strides behind. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm really digging this. I'm really digging this narration. I dig everything in this issue, honestly. Like, even the stuff that's kind of like, okay, Tony, but even that, it's great.
I'm sorry. Can you go back one slide?
Yes.
I'm tripping out. Okay. Wow. Okay. I did not realize this was a panel for panel match. I realized what was happening narratively. I did not realize graphically it is literally the flashback of the hunt.
No way.
The machine gunner is the lion, where that same thing is. That first panel was when we're looking down from Nkantu as he's starting to approach them. Oh my God, it's a complete match.
Oh, I'm not shocked, but also
and that
amazing.
Middle panel is when they engage. God damn. It's a mirror of his rite of passage.
They didn't have to do that. Like I don't know. I think that's another thing that I've noticed in these, disposable kind of just like, oh, this is a fad. Let's try to get this fad, let's try and cash in on it. But the amount of care that the creators, for the most part, in all of the issues that we've read, it's really beautiful. It's really nuanced. Like, they're really trying. This isn't just like fuck, I got to do a monster book. Like, they're bringing their A game, which I think is so cool. And then, at the bottom, we see that he must, for Nkantu knows now, today is the girl soldier's day of the test. So, parallel drawn. It's the day she must give proof of her strength to her tribe or to herself. And fuck yes, we see her pull out a grenade, pull the pin out with her teeth, and just hurl it. Also, obviously yelling some kind of nearly intelligible, or in her native tongue, war cry, as we see the part of the grenade detach and go snacked. Like, goddamn, there is some absolutely epic action sequences in this issue.
Yes. Jason, I said, can we show those two pages side by side? I do not know how to do that with I can't do that with multiple slides. I will definitely put that in our social feed.
Yeah.
Stack one on top of the other. At least the top two are, the two. Yeah, I'll stack those together so you can see them how piece. But I'm sorry, I can't do it live in the moment. Wow. So when the meaning of the title of the story starts coming in here and the parallelism, um, I was just blown away by this one. Um, I didn't know what to make of it the first read through to this point, and then I was just kind of gobsmacked.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't think that I mean, we're not reading something that says written by Alan Moore, and so, and especially in a mummy book, you're not expecting such rich and like these beautiful parallels that are being drawn in the story and in the art. And I think, this is what co-plotting means. It's like they're
Yep.
working so in tandem. This isn't the fucking Marvel method. These two guys with Len over their shoulders being like, and this is cool too. So, I mean, as far as an artist writer team, like team effort, this is the best of the best. It's so good.
But just to go back to your earlier comment about like, they didn't need to do that
No.
a book for kids. Like just the artistic wherewithal and just doing it for the love of the medium, just doing it because you love it. Like having that echo, like you said, is completely unnecessary, but goddamn is it welcomed.
I almost feel like, the journey of Tony Isabella that we've gone through. I feel like that if Tony isn't challenged by his artist, he just kind of phones it in, or he's just like Tony, like, hey, remember Sinatra? Like that's him. But I think when he's challenged, and when you have an artist like Val Mayerik, which is so inventive and just pushes things forward. I think what we're seeing is that Tony Isabella can rise to the occasion. Like if he's like, oh, this is serious shit. Like this is really artistic, serious shit. I think he gets right up there. He can match it. And I think with two of them together co-plotting this, I don't know, this is why it's so good, and it doesn't need to be this good.
Yeah. And we were wondering at the beginning, so Pinch Scripter, I think was his credit, and Val and Tony were co-plotters.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the more artful turns of phrase here and there and stuff like that, that's Len, and seeing where there's opportunities to link things up and have things echo or comment on something else that's already happened. That feels like that's Len. Like he feels like he's an old soul. I feel like Tony's just having a good time. And like you said, when the everything comes together in the right way, there's a synergy between the people. It gets elevated. He gets elevated, and he starts doing more exciting work. To me, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know if that's his natural state.
I don't think it is. I mean, I think we know, when he's paired with, an old workhorse from the Atlas era, like we've seen him before, yeah, I think maybe he is a mirror, because because with who he worked with on the on the Living Colossus stuff, it's an older guy. Why can't I remember his name? Dick Ayers.
Ayers?
So he's working with a really older guy. I wonder if he's a bit of he just tries to mirror like the cool sensibilities of his artist, because he does seem to kind of morph to whatever his artist is that he's working with. He doesn't seem to have a strong like narrative and voice on his own. Almost, it seems like he's lifted up by his co-plotter and his collaborator, which I don't know. I mean, maybe he's not a real artist, but he can reach really good artistic peaks as long as he has the right collaborator.
Yeah, I totally agree. By the way, so I was just looking on something Jason was saying. Was there something specific going on in the Middle East at this time that caused both the Golem thing and this to be set in this kind of conflict? And I was looking that up, actually, Jason. There was an insurgency, a Palestinian insurgency into South Lebanon. I feel like that was a big thing, and the UN got involved in a bunch of action around in 1973. So I think there was an escalation in the conflict that had been going on since 1948. I think it was when the state of Israel was created or whatever. But yeah, I feel like there was a lot going on, sharp spike in the conflict at this point in the previous 12 months.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, not quite a blacklight poster, but by God, it's almost like the logical conclusion to the cover. And goddamn, is it artful and gorgeous. I'm not going to read the copy here because there's no point really, but just the grenade that she chucked made it into either the turret or into the hatch or something, but that thing is gone. And I love just the way they drew the mummy and inked him, and just the way he's protecting her in that kind of just protector, like whatever guardian kind of way is so cool. Just hunched over like that. This has been a constant thing through here. His physicality is always extra human or subhuman or something, but it's never normal. They're always calling attention to the fact that he is definitely not a man anymore. But I really like when he goes in this kind of like Frankenstein's monster kind of level here, where it's like he's just a big protector who's using his body to help people kind of a way. That looks so cool.
Yeah, it does. And it was only in my second read through that on the first R on Bawar, I mean, that's like a severed hand, like being blown up from the guy who was on the turret. Don't you see? Am I making things up?
No, I see it.
Why does it go into the R? It's just, I don't know. I saw that as a severed arm and hand.
I guess it is. Can you do that?
I don't know. Well, I feel like it is one of those things to where you're like, oh, cool. But if you really look, you're like, oh, fuck. So I don't know.
I didn't see it.
Maybe I'm looking too into it, but it was a definite note on my page. I was just like, oh shit, that's brutal.
We're gonna treat that as a sneaky severed limb.
Oh well, hell. I'm happy to point those out. No, this
colors.
Oh goddamn! The colors are gorgeous. Glynis is out of control on this issue. Yeah. She's so good. I did like the very final narration that said the warrior woman has triumphed, but there will be no proud trophy to hang before her father's door.
Yeah, there is. We just it's on
exactly.
The arm.
Yeah, just go get that arm, mount it, hang it above his den. Yeah. No, that's it's rad. It's a rad page, and I don't know. I feel like the quality of this issue. It was so fun to read. It was so fun to make notes for, and now it's so much fun talking about it, which I knew it would
definitely. So who? I know I ask you this a lot. Is it Artie Simek or is it Val who's doing the Bawara room?
I would think that's Val.
That's Val, right? When it's a graphical element, that's the artist, right?
Yes.
I love that, like the full explosion happens in the end of the like the letters are shaking because it's like actually shaking the ground. God, that's cool.
Yeah, it's so great. Yeah, what an amazing page. And then
I don't want to get stoned and look at it because it's two dudes dying. But other than that, it's a blacklight poster.
Yeah, it is a blacklight poster. All right, so we're at our final page, and in that first row, it just kind of goes on to draw more parallels between the two. It says, as had been the great black-maned giant in Kantu had so gladly slain those many long years ago, forgotten, for of all things only the land survives time. I was just like, that's badass. It's really great. Yeah. And it is. It's saying like, oh, these are grand accomplishments, but you know what? They don't mean anything because everything dies. This is Ecclesiastes. This is just like striving for wind. And I don't know. I loved it. I love the sentiment. And I don't know. I don't want to, say Tony's not capable of this, but Len, it just screams Len. All of these emotional turns and just kind of the melancholy, and he really injects monsters with that melancholy, almost as good as Steve Gerber. I think those are the two masters.
I think most people would agree with us that Tony's strengths lie in the bombasticness and the melodrama beats and the that's why he's drawn to the serials and the old time adventure movies and whatever. So he's always kind of pulling on that stuff. And this emotional undercurrent, this emotional intelligence, this is what Len Wein brings to the table. I mean, I don't think that's even up for debate.
I don't think so. No, I mean, but again, such a great combo of these three creators, and except
splitting that panel, by the way.
Yeah,
which one with the?
Oh, I know. Time periods split.
God,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I know, it's so cool. So let's talk about, maybe the worst panel of the whole issue,
Oh yeah.
which is a bummer. But yes, the mummy is turning away, and Raja says, "No, please wait. I want to thank you. I don't know who or what you are, but you've saved my life and helped me to prove something very important to me. I don't know where you came from or where you are bound, but I pray you go in peace. Shalom, my mysterious friend. Shalom." And I feel like, what is up with her face in that third? What happened?
She looks like the actress that plays Jessica Jones getting sucked into a black hole.
Yeah. That was, I mean, in a near perfect issue, this kind of bummed me out.
Yeah.
It was like, it was almost a record scratch in a way, to where I'm just like,
Oh yeah.
oh, this moment is so beautiful. And I was like, what the fuck? What is this? Like, how does that even? The art is so great on every other panel. Look at the panel right before that, where they're in silhouette, just like
I know.
saying goodbye to each other. I'm just like, fuck, that's awesome. And then you're like,
Didn't
oh God.
didn't he end on a Ditko napkin drawing? Come on.
I know. Just like, what is that? But then, yeah, we end. Narration says, eyes misting over, and Kantu gently nods his head, then shambles off into the dust. Love that he nods. That he's just like, no, I understand you. Yeah, he's not mindless. I thought that was such a cool touch. It says, for he knows now that there are many kinds of lions, and that everyone must face his own in time. Nkantu, African chieftain, fought his more than 3,000 years ago. The girl soldier vanquished hers today. But for the creature called the living mummy, that lion is still ahead. And we have our teaser box says, next, the sting of the asp. So aside from that terrible depiction of Racha, it's an amazing page.
It is. The mummy here that we're looking at, it's a little Atlas era, a little janky compared to stuff they've done, but I still like it. I still think it's effective.
Yeah, I do too.
And I love that last panel, that perspective of her just standing there with her gun lowered, watching him just mind blown.
Yeah.
Like, I just fought with a mummy. That was weird.
Oh, Jason, you're right. Jason Feinstone says there might be a little of Babs Streisand in there. And yeah, you're right.
There might be some babs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fair enough. So the sting of the asp. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I know that you were kind of grumbling a little bit about the elementals seem to be the primary antagonists here. So I don't think any of us are excited about that, but they seem to be making lemonade out of lemons as far as like what we've got. The last couple of issues I've been really impressed with.
Yeah, I mean,
didn't jump the gun, but
no, and yeah, I mean, it could all go to shit, but I was very just like, oh, fuck the elementals. He's just going to be fighting them every issue, and this is going to be awful. But basically, they like we talked about in another issue, they're just the gods in the clouds looking at the scrying pool, and just being like, I tell ya. So they're basically just like, old men, get off my lawn at this point. And then they yell at Zephyr, and then Zephyr looks gorgeous and does something cool. So how they've showed up in the last two issues is fine by me.
Yeah, as long as it's just a few panels of them going, Zephyr, and her going, shut up.
Yep.
And then just something gorgeous. Yeah, I can live with that, I guess.
Yeah, I can absolutely live with that.
Okay, let's do a letter before we do our final summation here.
Sure.
Okay, this says, Dear people, what can you possibly do with the mummy? Well, you can give him the most superb covers ever with absolutely beautiful art by Gil Kane, a magnificent logo by Gasper Saladino, and some of the best coloring I've ever seen on the cover everywhere, especially the 9th issue. You can give the art assignment to Val Mayerik, an extremely promising, rather new artist, who immediately does his very best job anywhere, helped by the inking of his mentor, Dan Adkins. Then you can set Linda Lessman and Glennis Wein to do the coloring with appropriately impressive results. And you can let your imagination go totally wild with a cosmic plot, some flashbacks to a land straight out of jungle action, a black mummy, an old X-Men foe, and now analogy. I'm not sure about the now. I think that maybe that means like she's talking about like civil rights, like kind of thing. Like now, like it's echoing his struggle in the past is echoing. I wasn't sure about the now, a now analogy. Anyway, and then you have not only an original Mummy comic, but also a fine and highly entertaining comic magazine. Congratulations. I really didn't think you could pull this off. Thank you, Steve, Tony, Len, Val, Dan, Glennis, Linda, and Gil, and especially the cover colorist. May your respective typewriters slash pencils slash brushes, etc., never rust slash break slash disintegrate. Kim Thompson from APO, New York, New York. That was a nice letter.
That's a super nice letter. I totally concur.
So, yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit of the. I've been kind of slack with some of the letters this season, so I wanted to go to thriller filler, which is what
Yeah.
they call the letters called.
That's
Supernatural
awesome.
thrillers.
I love it.
Well, let's do our final thoughts.
Would you like to go or
What?
me?
I think I've been going first lately. It's
Really? Oh, sure. I'll take it. Well, I mean, it's no surprise, I've been saying how much I love this issue for the entire episode, but yeah, the things that and I like, and I'm not shocked because a lot of the times we are in full mind meld and have the exact same epiphanies each issue that we talk about. But yeah, I mean, I think this issue proved that this is the best way to tell a mummy story, getting more information on Encantu's upbringing and his, ancient ritual battle with a lion, juxtaposed with, desert fighting in 1974. But again, in those issues that we really liked, where he's just kind of walking around and thinking about his existence and thinking about his past, like this is a good way to do that because he's not just sitting on a bench being like, those stoplights look weird. Like he's in the desert and there's action and there's a lot of cool there's a lot of cool layers and themes that go along with this. So yeah, best way to tell a mummy story. Glennis Wein's colors were undeniably great. I mean, the art in this whole thing, save that one panel, is near damn perfect. And you can't beat having Len Wein and the rest, actually making this incredible comic together. So yeah, I loved it.
I did as well, and I didn't know that I needed a flashback story to Encantu's youth, but there it was, and it was absolutely perfect. The fact that, I mean, to me, this is just the sophistication that we've been marveling at through this whole thing, and storytelling. I mean, the comics are just growing up so fast at this point in the Bronze Age, which is I think part of why we love it so much. Is just like stuff that Eisner was doing is starting to just trickle down into every comic book now. Like, you know what I mean? Like the parallel construction of the story and his past echoing her present and those things two colliding, and then us realizing on our third read through, like in the moment, that oh my god, that the artists are replicating the layout with a tank instead of a lion. Like, I mean, the stuff here is just elevated and absolutely gorgeous. The construction of it was beautiful. The prose was nice, which I think was, again, I think Len coming in and actually scripting. I think that Tony and Val figured out what they wanted to do, and I think Len came in and made it sing. But damn, I again, aside from that one panel, which really was a sour note in that whole thing. Other than that, it was goddamn note perfect for me. The first time I read through it, I appreciated the lion thing. I appreciated the parallel storytelling, the different time periods and stuff like that. But there was also a part of me that said, the comic book guy in me said, nothing happened in that issue. And I was like, well, of course things happen. But I mean, that was cool or whatever. And then the second time I read it, knowing that, I was just like, holy shit, this thing is just like opening a bottle of fine wine, just breathing. Yeah. It's just opening up and getting better and better the more it breathes. But yes, I mean, I don't know. It was damn near perfect, except for that thing.
So what you're saying is what you think, and let me try and elaborate on it. So, what if Tony like turned in a script or was trying to write this stuff, and Roy was just like, I don't know if this isn't good, and then had Len come in and actually write a lot of the narration and dialogue. He's called a pinch scripter.
Yeah.
So do you
That
think
means
he
something.
came, I mean, was he involved, do you think, from the beginning process wise, or was he called in to just be like, Len, come and do something with this? And Len's like, okay, I got 20 minutes. Cool. And then comes in and writes this and then goes back to work on whatever he's going to work on.
I'm not much of a baseballman, but I don't think you bring in your pinch hitter, when everything's going swimmingly. I
That's
think
what
this,
I'm thinking, right?
I think you're probably right. I think Roy looked at the script or whatever. I was just kind of like, this is good, kid, but it needs a little something. And they brought Lid in and he did a rewrite. I think.
I really, I mean, only after going through this issue and talking with you, I've been saying, throughout this episode, like, Tony, he's really bringing it. But now that I think, I'm like, fuck, it's probably Len. That's why, like, Tony's so good today. And I'm like, well, it's because Tony's Len.
Yeah. Mark had said, don't forget the backup story. We don't do the backups just because they are reprints from non-Bronze Age stuff. So we generally skip those. And and he was wondering, did these always have a backup story? They did up until I think the next issue is when it became full Mummy stories until its cancellation with issue 15. So I think there's one more backup, maybe. In issue 11, and then I think it goes to full 18-page stories.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's freaking sweet, man. That was a great issue.
Yeah, it was.
To invite people to please visit our Threadless shop, pick up some BAM gear. We've got all kinds of really fun merch in there to check out. We've got coffee mugs, travel mugs, sweatshirts, all that jazz. Thanks for joining us, Jason. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you, folks who have gone and picked up stuff from the store. We always appreciate that. And we have a bonus show coming this week that we can talk about. We're going to be talking about a very obscure, barely released film called The Mummy and the Curse of the Jackals. If you're a fan of stuff like Manos, The Hands of Fate, and that kind of level, Ed Wood kind of level filmmaking of ineptitude, might be something there for you. H.G. Lewis, Herschel Gordon Lewis kind of movies, that kind of stuff, where you just want to make a movie more than tell a story. This might be for you. We watched it on the Discord and had a great time watching it all together. It's definitely one that was fun to watch with people. So we're going to be talking about that in the bonus show. We do a bonus show every single episode that we do. There's a shadow show, the bonus show that comes with it for people that support us on Patreon. There's many tiers of support that to fit whatever budget you're at, but our most popular one currently is, or not currently, it has been since the inception basically, is the pack member level, and that's $5 a month. They get the weekly bonus show in audio or video format, their choice. We release special gated content. Jacob's going to tell you about something in just a second related to that. They also get access to the entire archive. So the bonus show we're doing this week will be episode 83. So there's 82 other episodes of awesome stuff of us just talking about comics, movies, obscure music, whatever you want, life. That's there for you. So if you join at that level, you get all that stuff and you get a shout out. But I want Jacob to mention one of the special pieces of content he made for our Star Gods and now our pack members.
Yeah. So over the last year, I recorded an album. It's short. It's like 20 minutes long. So we'd like to call it an EP. But I had to explain to a lot of people at my work what an EP was, especially the younger folks. So that was depressing. But
really?
Yeah, I know, it was weird. I'm like, no, extended play. And they're like, play of what? Extend what? What are you talking about?
No, I don't think anybody hardly, except old people like that, old heads like us, know what that it means, extended play. But EP doesn't that just mean short album to everybody, even young people now? Okay,
I would think so, but I don't know. I was given a lot of deer in the headlights stares. It made me feel old. I didn't like it. But
okay.
But yeah, so and that's going to be out really, really soon. It was all kind of recorded to cassettes and sounds weird. And one of my songs called Columbia Brickworks, I felt went really good with over the holiday season. My wife's relative of my wife came and brought a bunch of DVDs that were transfers of old home movies from like from the late 30s to the 50s. One piece of film that was transferred was of a Christmas from I think 1941, and there was strange mirror image. It was almost like, I still don't know how the fuck that would have happened, like on film. Like either it was filmed on something that was already exposed, or maybe some of the film when it was together and processed, that it just kind of melded into one. But there's a main image of, you know, my wife's grandma opening up Christmas presents, but there's weird shit going on in the background, and it was so ghostly and cool. And right as I watched it, I'm like, oh, that fits perfectly with the song I have that's all about the, you know, how nostalgia isn't accurate, and that, you know, the trap of nostalgia in a lot of ways. And so it fit perfectly. And we were happy to give it to our star gods. So now to the pack members, you can watch my little music video that I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah, so we'll have a little post up on our Patreon page that opens up that to that tier, so you can check that out and get a sneak peek into Jacob's upcoming extended play release.
Thank you.
Yeah, try explaining 8 tracks to a young person. 8-track cassettes are, man. I was around the beginning of the end of those, and I have a hard time explaining them to myself. I still. Is it Kashmir that switches in the middle of some Zeppelin song? Like it switches tracks, like, you know, that big loud
there's
chunk.
the crunch, there's the
Yeah, man. Wow. So that's something. We've got some other things coming up. I'm gearing up to do an audio play. We have kind of done a soft commitment to do all of the Satana stories for our Patreon people, and so the next one's going to be an audio play with voice acting and sound effects and some music bed and all that stuff, just like we did with the Werewolf by Night radio drama kind of thing that we did. So that will be something available to our upper crust folks as well on the higher tiers there. So an additional thing that the pack members get is a shout out at the end of the show, and they get a shout out in the credits of the bonus show. So that's fine people like Tim Tucker,
Brian from Marvel by the Month,
Blake, last name withheld,
Caleb,
David Goodwin,
Ben M,
Michelle from Moonlit Comics,
Letty. Thanks for coming, Letty. Always good to see you.
Yeah, Johnny Turner,
Justin the Owl,
Russ from Taste the Pot of Dracula,
Brad Michael Elmore,
Jason Finestone. Thanks for being here tonight, Jason.
Worm Drive Pro,
Jared C,
Brink,
David D,
Glenn Lash. Good seeing you, Glenn. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thanks, buddy. Rob from Marvel by the Month,
Dave Kennedy,
Benjamin Potter,
Steve Lacey,
Brian Steed,
and Tony Iupi. Thank you all so much. We appreciate all of our Patreon members on all the tiers, but there is a final tier. The final tier is for the star gods. These celestial barbarian deities get even more content exclusive to that tier, and a thank you gift from our Threadless shop after 6 months of membership. That's right, star gods get to pick out a coffee mug, travel cup, or t-shirt from the show's shop, and we'll send it right to their mailbox. The hallowed ranks of the star gods include fine folks like Landon,
Jesse McFerrin,
MJ,
Ryan from Across the Bifrost, a Mighty Thor podcast,
John Walsh,
Michael Giacchino,
Melissa Watts,
Josh Link.
Mark Nivens.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Eric Hadley.
Catherine Neff.
And I want to extend a extra special thanks to Jackson T. Overstreet. He is our mega donor. We have to create a new tier for him. So thank you so much to you, Jackson. We appreciate the support. Your t-shirt is on its way, as is one of these water bottles. If you're just listening, you're not seeing it, but I'm holding it up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mark mentioned, he said, spend a little extra. If you're going to get something from the shop, get one of the softer t-shirts. I totally agree. And if you're looking at this right now, you can see that sweatshirt with It the Living Colossus on it. If you get it's either French or like spongy, I forgot which level it is. It's one of the higher quality sweatshirts. It's like the softest thing I've ever touched on felt on my skin. I wear my werewolf one that I hope I make a change for the better, whatever that one is. I wear that constantly, and it's like it feels like God's rubbing your tummy. It feels like you're in your jams 24 hours a day. It's absolutely amazing. It's worth the extra money. Also, by the way, I never mentioned this, but I it comes up sometimes when I talk to people personally. But if you are a star god and you want to get a sweatshirt, but we're always saying you can have a t-shirt or a cup. If you want to get the sweatshirt, just let me know, and you can pay the difference. So I'll buy the shirt part, and then you just send us the difference, and we'll send you a sweatshirt. You don't have to get a t-shirt if you don't want a t-shirt. You just got to help us pay the difference.
That sounds fair.
I think that's fair. Cool. So we have a voicemail, but I just got a notification from Google that since we don't use it as an actual phone to call people, that they're going to take it away. So I don't know how long we have a voicemail for. Just receiving voicemails doesn't count. They want you to have the app and use it to make phone calls.
Well, that's
So
stupid.
for the time being, you can leave us a voicemail at 971-220-5865. That's 971-220-JUNK. You can email us at bronzeagemonsters@gmail, and we're on socials at Bronze Age Monsters, pretty much everywhere except for Twitter. So I thank you everyone for being here. Please don't forget to leave a comment letting us know who your favorite character so far of the Bronze Age buffet is and why. We would love to hear from you. And we also want to give somebody a water bottle. So we'll figure that out for the next live we do, which is about every 4th episode. It seems like it's been shaping up to be. Jacob, thank you so much for talking through this with me. I had a great time discovering Encanto's secret past. I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah, this episode was particularly fun. I always love our episodes, but this one was really extra fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. So next up, folks, will be a regular audio only podcast. We've got Strange Tales 177 with the Golem, the thing that walks like a man. It's got a script by Mike Friedrich, pencils by Tony DeZuniga, inks by Steve Austin, colors by Bill Mantlo, a rare Mantlo coloring job, and letters by Tom Orzechowski. I'm excited to learn more about this freaking Kabbalah guy. I've been thinking about that guy since we read that issue last week. So I'm digging it. I'm ready to dig in.
Me too.
All right. So join us next week for that, folks. Thanks for joining us now. Until we meet next week, stay bronze, Pony Boy. Stay bronze. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. This was a lot of fun.
I agree. I had a great time. Bye, Jacob.
Bye.